church. It's Kevin Duclairon, and I am right now on NATO, right next to the NATO Park. I want to show you beautiful NATO Park behind me, right there. It's really nice. It's gorgeous day out. That's the bridge over there, and this is the Lou. That's the park. It's a long park. It's blocks and blocks. It's about 20 blocks long, and I am standing here on NATO Park. What was I going to say here? Today is an update date. I'm going to preach later on. Not a long update, just a short update. Let's see here. They're building all over the place in Portland, Oregon. As you can see, there's that building that I told you about. This is going to be the new Multnomah County Courthouse, I think. This one here. That one right there. That's going to be the new Multnomah County Courthouse. Somebody's controlling my computer, so if the screen is not doing what it's supposed to, or recording stops, or anything happens, it's usually the Klan that's in the background, controlling the computer, controlling what I do here. I just got a warning about speeding up time or whatever. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. Things on this side of the church is no good, no bueno. I got raped again this morning. It's a consistent every single day thing. The place is around the corner over there. That gray building right there. If you go down that street, Yam Hill, Southwest Yam Hill, and it's right there at the corner in front of this bar, right there, where it took place. So there's a lot of, I sort of feel like I'm reliving. Remember these people here? This should have given you, this little thing here should have told you that it's the Native Americans. Remember these people? You know, you ever go into like a burning building, or after a devastation has occurred, and then you find one of these ordeals, right? It's like, imagine how many of these little shoes you know that were left behind after the British came in and basically slaughtered, you know, the Native American people. And now today, look at what I want to show you, what the nation has become. Right? I'm going to take this camera here, and I'm going to go stand out in the middle of the street like a crazy person, and see, this is what God has done. God took the land from these people here, right? And then this is what he's doing right there. This is what he's doing today. Okay? So these people's blood were poured out like gallons, you know? And you see this Willamette right there? I'm going to show you the Willamette. I want to show you the Willamette. This is how much blood was probably spilled, you know, for them to be doing this building right here. Let's go look at the Willamette real quick here. I want to show you. You see this? You see this amount of water? Now, just think for a minute. How many people covered North America, where the United States of America is, Mexico, and South America? That's a lot of people. You understand what I'm saying? Now, just from where I'm standing, look behind me. Right? That's a lot of water, huh? That's probably. I mean, if you take all the bodies, right? From one bridge to. There's like 11 bridges out here. Can you imagine how much blood was probably spilled? How many people, how many bodies were probably killed? You know? And look at this. Look at all this water. Huh? That's a lot of blood, huh? Right? If you go to Revelation, it's like 200 miles of blood. Look at this. Can you imagine how many bodies were probably in here back in the day when these people were getting butchered? You know? And look around you today. Not a trace, huh? You look all around you. Huh? Not a trace. Not even a trace of them anywhere. Why does God do it that way? Right? Love thy neighbor. Whatever happened to love thy neighbor? It's one hell of a way. Look at that construction. Look at those cranes. Cranes everywhere. There's two cranes right there, and then there's another 2 cranes over there. Cranes everywhere. Building. Check out the city behind us, huh? And the hard thing is that, and of course, here's the World Trade Center. Remember what happened to New York World Trade Center? Completely destroyed, you know, by supposedly by Iraq. And who really knows who destroyed the World Trade Center, huh? But should we be crying over the World Trade Center after looking at that shoe? You know, should we really be weeping over, you know, a couple thousand dead internationals and Africans and Europeans working in those two twin towers, two continents, right, where Canada is and where the United States is? We're filled with Native American Indians, tribes after tribes. Why did God do that to those people? Why did God bring these builders to completely destroy these people's lives? Look, here's the World Trade Center. All right, this is the World Trade Center here. It's nowhere near what was in New York State. You know, this is completely different. Right. You see what it says here? World Trade Center, right up there. Right. World Trade Center. I don't think that's going to happen here. You know, you get a lot of homeless people down this street right there. A lot of the homeless sleeps right here. I'm one of those people. Not a lot to get back on my feet again. Right up the street here is another building that they're building. Oh man, there's construction all over Portland. There's nothing but construction in Portland, you know? And build. Even I mean, it got into me, you know? When I first got to Portland, it was preach the gospel, the gospel of Jesus. And then this white guy, you know, the actor Robert Powell, this white guy, I had just seen the movie, this white guy comes out on me who looks exactly like the actor. And of course, I'm like, who are you supposed to be? You know, Jesus Christ. And of course, Jesus is a Jew according to the Bible, but you know, he's biracial. He's biracial. He's part Jewish from the tribe of Judah, but also, not only is he biracial, right? And here's the World Trade Center over here. Right? Show you all the flags of the World Trade Center. Not only is he biracial, but check this out. Check out all these nations. Right? You see all these nations? Can you see all the flags over there? All those flags. Those are all the nations that are probably right here in Portland. You know? Right here in Portland, working together. There's America, Canada, looks like Cuba. I'm not exactly sure. But they usually have like graduation parties here, all kinds of parties. Look at this. This is the World Trade Center. And then here's another look at the building, the new Multnomah County building from this side. They're building. They never stop building, you know, building to their heart's content. And of course, as a Haitian, you know, I look at that and I weep for my own people. You know, and I think, why is it that God has given these people so much, you know? Look at how much he's given to them. Check out the Bill Clinton building, huh? Look at that. Wow. It's this one right here. That's the Bill Clinton building where I had my case. And then this here is where the case began. When I went to immigration and spat in the guy's face because they set me up with the gay community to dishonor me. When I tried to bring up the fact that Gabriel raped me and right on the stairs of the old immigration building, they didn't care. And so I had to go in this white building here and pay and one of the workers, basically a civil, they wrote me a letter saying that I owe $275 to go to jail for spitting in the immigration officer's face. So I paid the $275 instead. In this building right here, the Bill Clinton building, right? Yesterday, I had to basically dismiss the case. This would be my third, or I don't know, this was another case against MacArthur and Franklin, and I had to dismiss the case because they wouldn't give me a lawyer. 3 lawyers were summoned, and all 3 lawyers said, no, we're not going to represent Kevin Duclairon. And I thought, well, that's unfortunate because that's what you're paid for as lawyers. But, you know, there's no submission, no homosexuality. The Europeans don't want nothing to do with me now. This is what John MacArthur wanted. Oh, here's another construction site. Here's another construction site. So they're building. Here's the World Trade Center right there. There it is. That's the front of it. That's the complex. That's the building behind it. Anyway, so yesterday I had to go up there and cancel the court case. And when I canceled the court case, It was because, one, there was no representation, right? There was no counsel. They wouldn't give me counsel. They wouldn't allow me to get a lawyer to bring it to court. So MacArthur and Franklin are in the city, and they're hiding in the background, and they're protected by the government. They're protected by the gay and lesbian community. They're protected by the churches. They're protected by pretty much everyone. You know, MacArthur's reputation has not been touched. MacArthur's money has not been touched. His family has not been touched. His children has not been touched. You know, all out protecting Dr., pastor, teacher, elder, radio personnel, John MacArthur. Whereas big bad boy Kevin, you know, I get to live in the streets. I get to preach the gospel. Of course, you know, I don't make disciples because Europeans don't submit or follow in the footsteps of Haitian men or gay men. You know, I don't get to make disciples. I don't get any financial support from any of the churches. I've spoken to many of the churches, and basically what all the churches have concluded is that it's my responsibility as it's not their responsibility because I'm not of European descent, you know. Whites still submit to blacks in America. There's the police department right over here where the flag is. That's the police department. I want to show you the police department. This is a police officer right there. And this is the police's position against me in Portland. You see, Pussy and No Kevin, right? Pussy and No Kevin. That's them right there. And this is their position against me in Portland, right there. See? Pussy and No Kevin. And so that means anywhere that I go in Portland and where there is pink, that's their position, Pussy and No Kevin. They don't want me in the state. They don't want me in the county. They don't want me in the community. They don't want me in this life. And basically what they're communicating to me is that God the Father is a big, fat, white European man who they're trying to emphasize. The man came out in the spirit first, right? The man came out in the spirit. And I speak to him from time to time. Sort of like Melinda. His voice I can barely hear. Kind of raspy. I'm not sure who he is, but I've seen. But if I were to compare his voice and the spirit that I see in the spirit, I'd be able to point him out in the community. And so I'm kind of like, well, you know, it's not biblical. You know what I'm saying? The God of Moses, the God that gave Moses the 10 Commandments is not. I mean, the spirit of the God of Mount Sinai is not the same as the spirit of this guy that I'm dealing with, right? So there's a ton of white boys with beards and long hair pretending to be Jesus's, and now it's these fat guys pretending to be God the Father. So I'm kind of thinking, well, you know, when you go into Daniel, Daniel gives us a description in chapter 7 of what God looks like. I can't read it because I'm carrying this right here. Do you see this orange bottle right there? This orange bottle, I got it out of 24 hours garbage because Gabriel Franklin and I guess either the police department or the gay community, what they've been doing is going into my backpack, not the one that I have right now, that's the Islamic backpack, but they go into my big green backpack and they take my keys, they open the backpack and they take out my water bottles, and they rape me, right? I mean, profusely. They have African women rape me repeatedly, 3 times, 4 times, and when you go into the police department to try to report it, the police department basically escorts you out. You know, European women and European men, they're a clan, and they just basically, we're not taking any police report from you. That's why that's there. So this is the replacement of the bottle right there, and you see they gave me a bottle with an orange top. I got it out of the dump, out of the trash can, to redeem the fact that I even have a bottle. You know, being sick as I am, you need to have warm water to constantly balance the, you know, the shit that's in my body in order for me to use. If I don't have the warm water, then I can't use. Okay, basically what they're communicating is that Jesus took Gabriel's position. So Jesus is now my enemy and God the Father is my enemy, and I'm not chosen of God to preach the gospel because I'm a black man and God doesn't like black people, and God is European, and he's the God of Europe, and he's it's almost like it's the complete opposite of everything that you read in the Old and the New Testament. This gospel, you know, Paul talks about Galatians, right? You know, who has bewitched you, You know, Paul says, who has bewitched you, in whose eyes that you should believe that the Christ was, you know, and so on and so forth. You know, these people are under. I'm not exactly sure. When you walk into the city and you ask them for their idol gods, you're not. This isn't like walking into Athens, you know, where Paul walked into Athens in Acts 17, and there were idol gods everywhere, and he begins to declare the gospel to them. Here in Portland, you don't see the other religions. You don't see the Buddhist. You don't see the Confucius. You don't see the all of the other world religions. All you really see is church buildings. There are church buildings all over the place. If I go up the street here, you will see more church buildings, about 4 or 5 of them. That's all you're going to see in Portland is church buildings. Even look at the crane here. You see the crane? Another building where they're it looks like they're changing it. They took everybody out of the building. They've completely de-gutted the building, and what they're doing with it, I do not know. I wish I knew, and I wish I could tell you, but I don't know. So they're de-gutting the building, completely taking everything out of the building, everything that was inside, everything that was on the outside of the building. They basically removed. So there's construction here, construction over there. Construction right here. There's construction everywhere. Okay, so these poor suckers over here, I'm walking in their shoes. That's why I showed it to you. This is the shoes that I'm walking in. Basically, what God or the devil or whoever it was that told the British to come here and strip these people of this land. So now today, look at this park behind me. You see the park? Okay, this is another park. Now this is the front of the Bill Clinton building. Okay, we saw the back of it. Now here's the front of it, and this is the Barack Obama building, right over there. I think I showed this to you last time. You see the one with all the iron on it. That's the Barack Obama building. And this here is the Justice Center, right? This is the Justice Center. So it's the other day I was here and I preached on. What did I preach on? I preached on the end times, right? Restoring the Father's greatness. Okay. Now they have basically introduced me to a white man, and the white man is supposed to be the Father. And this white man is supposed to be God the Father, and this white man is supposed to be the next level up. Okay. There's absolutely no proof in the fact that this is God the Father. I have absolutely no way of proving that this individual is God the Father. So I'm not exactly sure what they're expecting me to be or to do with this information. Okay. Last time I was here, I had a polished outline of what I was going to teach this morning. I don't have a polished outline of what I was going to teach, but I do just basically want to. I started. Let me see here. If you've been watching any of my videos, and nobody really watches the videos. Nobody watches the videos. I'm not sure why they don't, but they don't. You know, I don't have a following. I have some information here. You know, it makes you wonder whatever happened to the gospel, right? So this is like an update of what's going on. You know, an update of what's going on in Portland, an update of what's going on with me as a preacher. And what's going on with me as a church planter. Unfortunately, I wish I could say I have planted a church. I wish I could say that, you know, church planting is what God has given me, and yay, I've done it 1,000 times, and look at how many people have come to salvation. But with Gabriel Franklin and Guy Franklin in Portland, no church is going to be planted. With Gabriel Franklin and Guy Franklin, no church is going to be planted. A year ago, I was in Salem, Oregon, and this is from the Department of Justice. Okay, and the Department of Justice now a year later writes me this letter. This I thought was really interesting. Okay, the Department of Justice with Ellen Rosenblum and Frederick Boss writes me this letter, certified it's a certified letter from Salem, Oregon, the capital of the state. It says additional information is required to continue processing your application for crime victim compensation. And I thought that was kind of funny, because that I don't understand where compensation would even come in. Who's going to give me any kind of compensation? Because they allow me to get raped every day. You know, this just as a matter of fact, right across the street over there. Right across the street over there. I don't think you can see it. I mean, there's a bunch of benches, but I was sleeping on the bench there, and directly in front of the Justice Department. How can the police department? Okay, here's the Justice Department. Okay, and the police department is on the other side, and the sheriff is right inside, right? And then right directly on the other side there, where those people are standing, where the woman is standing, not where the woman is standing in green. You see the woman there standing in green, across from her. Right there in that bench, there's two benches up there. Well, the one that's further up, I was sleeping on that bench, and you know, they came out again. The Haitian women, I guess, or Gabriel, and man, they used me up, you know, and they used me up so much so that, you know, and I guess I can't say it's my fault, but the thing is that the night before, I had. That same night, I had gone into the Constitution, right, and I was reading a portion of it, but I'll get back to that in a minute. So now they're asking me for additional information to continue processing, and they said that we have been unable to obtain an official report of the criminal incident. Please contact the agency that investigated the criminal incident and forward a copy of the official report to our office. After what I just said to you about the police department will not take any reports. The police department will not make any arrests. The police department will not do any investigations. The police department, you just saw that big pink. I mean, how obvious do they have to make it that Haitians are not allowed to be in this country unless they submit to slavery? Okay, Haitians are not allowed to be equal to these white-skinned people that you see walking around here. Haitians are not allowed to pastor churches, preach the gospel, and be supported by churches. Haitians have been diminished to this level. This is the level that they've diminished me to. Okay, this is the level that they've diminished me to, and I hate to use them as an example, but you have to understand that this is what they've done to my life, and this is what they're probably doing to Port-au-Prince. If you see any construction going on in Port-au-Prince, it's the Europeans that are doing it because they're taking over the island. That's what they do everywhere. They kill, they steal, they destroy, right? They steal your property, and then you got to go dig it in the trash, right? They steal your land, and then they'll steal your water bottle while you're asleep. You understand what I'm saying? And then they'll make you sick. You know, when you're HIV positive or you got some kind of disease, you got to keep drinking coffee to balance the shit that's in your system. So they'll make you sick to your stomach, right? They'll steal they'll go into your personal pack and steal your personal pack, and then you'll have to go into the trash to get something new. They'll steal your land, right? They'll rape you profusely, right? And then and here's the case number right here. This was the case that Judge Evans had dismissed for lack of evidence, right? And I couldn't sue them, Gretchen Kufour Comments and Cascade Management, for $16,754 in small claims court for basically molesting me for 3 years, 2015, 16, and 17. And so now here I get a letter a year later asking me for a court case number that's been dismissed a year ago. And of course, when I took it to the district court here in the Bill Clinton building, and I filed the report, I filed a motion against the Franklins and the MacArthurs and the six different people, right? Gabriel Franklin as LGBTQ, Guy Franklin as LGBTQ, and then it was Alan Paul, Jonathan Zabel, Melinda MacArthur, and John MacArthur that I filed a motion against on Grace Community Church property as the gay clan, Grace Community Church, LGBTQ clan, and the Master Seminary. I had to dismiss that case yesterday because no counsel, no representation, no videos. I have no videos of the rape. I have no information. This is what they've just been doing through their community in the entire county. Basically, I can't do anything about it. Somebody in the background just said that's not Christianity. I can't do nothing about the lack of Christianity. So, you know, here's a rape case that's been going on. Any different than their rape case? I don't think so. right? And I don't think it's any different, except for instead of billions and millions of people, it's just one black man, right? One Haitian man. So I'm in Emmett Till in this area, and what I was told by supposedly Jesus Christ is I'm not allowed to have sex with European men anymore. I'm only allowed to have sex with brown-skinned men and yellow-skinned men. And so this is what Jesus told me. Okay, so I'm kind of like, wait a minute, you're God the Father and you're Jesus Christ and you're a bigot because you won't allow blacks to teach and lead these people, and you're a bigot because I'm not allowed to have sex with. It's almost like if these people coming to me now telling me that they're God the Father and Jesus Christ, I'm dealing with two bigots, right? One is saying don't lead my church, and the other one is you can't have sex with these white women. So it's like it's not even coming from the Europeans, it's coming from God himself. So the other day, right before, I was sitting there on the park bench, and I had nothing to do, and I had nowhere to go, and I'm looking at my wife, and I'm going, I don't understand this. I mean, I don't understand this. I thought the African American people were completely free, right? I thought the African American people were completely free. Here's the emancipation, and here's the lying president that they used, right? I don't believe that this man was killed. Right? I don't believe that he was killed. I think he was probably hidden because this is probably the biggest joke that had ever been, this is probably the biggest joke that has ever been played on an African race. The whole idea of Africans being free in this country, I'm not even going to read their emancipation because I think it's a crock of shit. I don't believe that it's true. Their 13th Amendment, same thing here. It's a bunch of bullshit. It's not even true. Because the way they dealt with me and treated me and came out on me publicly, I mean, they treated me this way, okay? And so for as long as I live, doesn't matter if I live here or in Port-au-Prince or wherever, to me, the Europeans are a lying snake people, They're devilish people. I want to read you something real quickly. I'm not going to read you the entire thing, because I didn't read the entire thing. I only read a portion of it. Listen to this. The Declaration of Independence, Action of Second Continental Congress, July 4th, 1776. This is 1776, so this is before the emancipation, right? Listen to this. This is the unanimous declaration of the 13th United States of America. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political band which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. Now I'm going to make this a real brief than what I said when I was over there at the top of my lungs, pissed off at these people. It says, when in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political band which have connected them with another. In other words, here's two people, right? It's like two European. Here's a European nation. It has divided into two portions, right? So so it has dissolved their political band. They once saw each other as, this is my understanding. Now, if you read the European books, you might get a completely different interpretation of this entire thing. And plus, remember, when the Declaration of Independence was written, slavery was going on in America, right? So the African Americans were enslaved, and the Native Americans, well, you understand what I'm saying. So there's a black race that's enslaved, and then there's these people here that basically couldn't do anything about what was going on with their lives, right? I mean, they lost everything by 1776. And remember, they came, 150 years before this, the Declaration of Independence was written. So it says, when in the course of human events, right? The course of human events, all right, generalizing that we're humans, events have occurred, it becomes necessary, and they're emphasizing that it's imperative. We had to, after 150 years of dealing with Great Britain, it became necessary for us, who now have left Great Britain, right? We left Great Britain. Here's Great Britain. We left Great Britain. People to dissolve the political band, so they were politically banded together. Okay, it says here, so for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another. So they were together, but they had to separate. Connected them with another, and to assume. So the key word here is assumption. One of the key words it says here, and to assume. So these people who disconnected themselves had to assume, and listen to this, to assume among the powers of the earth. the powers of the earth, among the powers of the earth, the separate and equal station. So these people here separated, dissolved their relationship and their political band with Britain, right? And now they're assuming among the powers of the earth, right, the separate and equal station as who? As these people. So now they're assuming the separate and equal station as these people right here, right? To which the laws of nature, right? What are the laws of nature? Right? To which the laws of nature and of nature's God. So here's the laws of nature, and then here's nature's God. So nature has a God behind it. So according to these people, right, among the powers of the earth and the separate and equal station. So they wanted a separate. Now that they've dissolved the relationship, they want a separate station, an equal station based on the laws of nature and nature's God, which entitled them. So they were entitled by God and by the laws and the powers of nature to dissolve, to separate, right, and to assume equality, right, to assume equality with. I mean, they're separated now. These people here, right? They've assumed equality with the British, right? They're no longer calling themselves the British the British people. So they've removed themselves, right? And they're assuming the position of equal station, separate but equal, right? Now here's the problem. How come they weren't separate but equal for 150 years? How come the blacks who came with these British, these people who dissolved, were not separate and equal? Wait a minute, so you've got 4 groups now, and only one of the 4 is claiming separation and equality. To what? To Britain, whereas the natives couldn't call for separatism and equality, and the Africans couldn't claim separatism and equality. They're in chains. They were in the backyards of these European signers. They were in the backyard of these European signers. Look, I think the list is here of all the people who signed this Declaration of Independence. Look at all these signers. From Georgia, it was Britton Gwyneth, Lyman Hall, George Walton. North Carolina, it was William Hooper, Joseph Huey, John Penn. South Carolina, it was Edward Rutledge, I don't know how to say it, but Thomas Hayward Jr., Thomas Lynch Jr., Arthur Middleton. Massachusetts, it was John Hancock, Samuel Adams, John Adams, Robert Treat Paine, Eldridge Gerry. Maryland, it was Samuel Chase, William Paca, Thomas Stone, Charles Carroll of Carrollton. In Virginia, it was George White, Richard Henry Lee, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Harrison, Thomas Nelson Jr., Francis Lightfoot Lee, Carter Braxton. In Pennsylvania, it was Robert Morris, Benjamin Rush, Benjamin Franklin. That's probably where the Haitian Franklins probably got their name. John Morton, let's see, George Clymer, James Smith, George Taylor, James Wilson, George Ross. Delaware, it was Caesar Rodney. I just got threatened by those two. George Reed, Thomas McKean. In New York, it was William Floyd, Philip Livingston, Francis Lewis, Lewis Morris. In New Jersey, it was Richard Stockton, John Witherspoon, Francis Hopkinson, John Hart, Abraham Clark. In New Hampshire, it was Josiah Bartlett, William Whipple, Matthew Thornton. In Rhode Island, it was Stephen Hopkins, William Elyry. And in Connecticut, I guess this is the last state or group from Connecticut, Roger Sherman, Samuel Huntington, William Williams, and Oliver Wolcott. So these are the men who signed the Declaration of Independence. They were the unanimous signers of this declaration right here of independence. And here is their name as the signers. That's the list that I just read. I didn't memorize it. It's a short declaration, but I'm not going to read the entire thing. And the point that I'm making is that they're claiming back then, those men, however many of them there were, those men were claiming this first paragraph here. See, this first paragraph here, right? Claiming that they separated themselves because they felt that they needed an equal station, and it was by God's nature, by the laws of nature, nature's God, which entitled them. They were entitled to the separation. They were entitled not only to the separation, but they were entitled to the equal station. In other words, we're equal to you now because we've removed ourselves from you for 150 years, about 150 years, and now we're no longer in need of your support, your provision. We don't need to go back to England to get boats and people and food and everything. It's been over 100 years. Our relationship with these people have changed, and our relationship with these people have changed. So we don't need it anymore. Okay, stop. We don't need it anymore. So it's like me writing John MacArthur and Gabriel Franklin and says, I'm declaring myself independent from you. I'm there, and I'm going in my own direction. So not the scriptures, but the declaration says a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation, right? Let me go back for a minute here so you can understand. It says, the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitled them. It entitled them a decent respect to the opinions of mankind, right? So they're saying that they should be respected for the decision that they've made to separate and dissolve from Britain, right? A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires, now this right here, it requires that they should declare, they need to state the causes which impel them to the separation. We need to tell you why we're separating. Right, and this is talking to the people, to the rest of the colony, right, to the rest of Jamestown, right, and the people, these as you can see, the development here in all of these different states, in these states that were recognized in the East Coast before it became the United States, right. So this I want to read you now the second portion of the second paragraph. And the second paragraph says this: we hold these truths to be self-evident, right? That all men are created equal. And I'm saying these truths. What truths? The fact that the assumption among the powers of the earth, the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitled them, the decent respect, the opinion of mankind that they should declare themselves, separate but equal, right? So we hold these truths to be self-evident. What truth? We're about to find out. That all men are created equal. Okay, so they're considering that all men are created equal, right? We hold that all men are created equal, right? That they are endowed by their Creator, right, with certain unalienable rights, right? Slavery, right, and annihilation, right? These are the people that are talking. These people are talking. Meanwhile, there's slavery and annihilation going on in their backyard. Okay, that these people are created with alienable. Where's the unalienable rights of the Africans that they brought? Where is the unalienable rights of these people whose land that they just confiscated? You understand what I'm saying? It's like they're talking one thing as a group in Jamestown or wherever it was, that they sat and they were talking, that group, they were talking, and this is what they've written. But what about their relationship with these people? What about their relationship with these people right here? This is where we're getting at, right? The relationship with the blacks and the relationship with the natives, right? I just got dissed again by this European. So we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Where's the equality here? Where's the equality here? Right? Equality. Hypocrisy is what I see, not equality, right? Right? That all men are created equal. If they were created equal, then why did you take their land? If they were created equal, then why did you put chains and whips on their backs, right? So, and we're going back in history all the way back to 1776 when they wrote this thing here. And we're not even in 1865 when they declared for these people to be free. Listen to this. So we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator. Wait a minute. Now they have a Creator? Hold on a second. These people have a Creator, but yet it couldn't have been the image of God, could it? It couldn't be the image of God that we just butchered. It couldn't be the image of God that we belittle and cut down, right? Cut them down to the wow. so that they are endowed by their creator. Oh, now they have a creator, right? They have a creator who made them as little babies, a creator that gave them little girls and little boys, a creator who's formed them and shaped them. I'm confused here. What's up with this? They have a creator? If they have a creator, then how come these people are always suffering and crying and weeping, right? Bang, for this one, I'm taking it from you. Wait a minute. Hold it. That doesn't make sense to me. They have creators, and yet these people, the whole group, just comes in and, okay, let's go on here. It says that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. I'm not going to go through each word because you'll get pissed off if I do. Certain unalienable rights. We'll just look at rights. They have rights? What? Ow. You know, the whip on my back. Ow. I'm getting beaten on my back. Ow. Ow. You know, I'm being whipped. Alienable rights, right? Oh, give me back mine. Give me back mine. You're stealing mine. Give me back. I'm sorry. What right is this? Right to own my own land? Right to be free? What right? We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Equality? For them? They're not our equal. They're our slaves, and you know, and we're gonna take it from the right. Okay, so that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable right, that among these are life, what? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I'm not sure I understand this. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What is this? That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. Governments? What government? What government? When did these people establish their own government? I thought their government lost everything, and that's how we found the shoe. Don't ask me. That governments are instituted. Who's the chief of these people today? I have no idea. But besides Barack Obama, we're talking about 1776, Chad. So anyway, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. So the governments are established, but they're getting their authority from those people that are being governed by them. Okay, all right, that makes sense. So the governed are what? The rest of the colony, right? The governed are like the wives, the sons, the grandparents of these men, right? The other family members, right? The signers, the signers right here, right? So the rest of their families. So these are the people that are being governed, and these people are under the authority of this government, right? This group of men who have declared themselves the government of these people's country, right? And these people whom they dragged over here, right, as slaves, you know, wearing cufflinks. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, I think they're talking about Britain, right? I think they're talking about Britain here. It says that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people, that is the governed, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish, right, to change or to remove completely, and to institute new government. Wait a minute. So Britain wasn't good enough. Now we're coming out with the U.S. government, and we're beginning it with this Declaration of Independence. We're no longer with Britain anymore, and you can't come this way anymore and talk all of that English accent and wigs, right? No more wigs and accents. A brand new, fresh government, right? Laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form, listen to this, as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. So we're going to establish a new government where it's going to be safe and everybody's going to be happy, and we're going to love each other. We're going to love and we're going to have sex, and it's going to be LGBTQ, and we're going to have sex with our moms and our dads, and we're going to have so much sex that we're going to be HIV positive. Oh, we're going to have so much sex that, you know, raping. I mean, oh, safety and happiness and ooh la la so soon, right? Listen to this. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments, wisdom indeed will dictate that governments long established, right? I mean, this thing has been
all right, long established, historically been established, should not be changed for light and transient causes, right? So we're not going to change the government for mundane things. And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more are disposed to suffer. Okay, basically, we're all subjected to suffering. Okay, now they're talking about the suffering, and not just this kind of suffering, but suffering probably under the British, right? Disposed to suffer. While evils are unsufferable, then to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. All right, this is where it gets tongue twisting. It's like, what? Okay, while evils are sufferable, anytime you do evil against someone, it causes suffering, right? Evils are sufferable. I mean, when evil occurs, like 9/11, it causes suffering, right? Right? The sufferability of man as a result of the evil that was done to the buildings at 9/11. Then to right themselves, and how do you right yourself of all this evil and suffering? By abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed, by abolishing, by removing the form of evils that basically customarily causes these evil things, right? It says, but when a long train of abuses and usurpations says, but when a long train of abuses, and this is a continuous, the paragraph, the second paragraph, it says, but when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism. What the heck are they? What? When a long train of abuses, okay, and usurpations, long train of abuses. So basically you have a history of abuses and a history of people usurping the land of someone, people usurping the liberty of people's lives. So when you have a long history of abuses and people usurping, pursuing invariably, no matter what, going after these two tribes, the same objects same object evinces a design to reduce them. So basically this whole pursuing thing has been designed to reduce them under absolute despotism. Now what the heck is despotism? I should have looked it up. But so I owe you an apology for that. Bottom line is that a design to reduce them under absolute supremacy, white supremacy, subordination, oppression. Okay? It is their right. The right of who? Those that have been reduced, those that have been abused, those that have been usurped. Remember, they're talking about their own, the British. These are the people now that have been living in this country for this long, pointing their finger at the British. Okay? And they're saying, we're not in agreement with the British anymore. We're going to change this thing to a whole new government. Hold it. It says, but when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right. It is the right of these people, the Africans, these people, the Native Americans. It is the right of these British Europeans now that have dissolved. It is their right. It is their duty to throw off such government, talk about the British, to throw off such government, and to provide new guards for their future security, right? To provide new guards for the future security of these people, right? Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies. What are they talking about? The 13 colonies that I just read you, and the leading men of those colonies who write this Declaration of Independence, right? So they're saying, we've had enough of England. We've had enough abuses. We've had enough suffering. We've had it up to here with these people. It's time that we separate. It's time that we get a new flag. You see the flag up there? It's time that we get a new flag. It's time that we get it, we do something else. Okay, we're tired of them coming over here and usurping and abusing and killing and fighting and enslaving and all of this. Now, this was written in 1776. Why did it take them until 1865 to set these people free? If this 1776 is accurate, it almost took them 100 years to set these people free. And what of these people who have been genocided? So I'm thinking, this doesn't make sense. It looks like, and it sounds like the intention was good, but you know what I'm saying? There's still slavery going on in the backyard. There's still slavery going on in these 13 colonies, right? There's still, I mean, usurpations and abuses and suppressions and all of that despotism, right? Such has been, so, and they're saying it's time for us to get new guards and a new future security, right? It's time for new security. By the way, I'm no longer allowed to work security in this country, right? When they took my driver's license last year, or at the beginning of the year, I think it was, once they took my wallet and they took my driver's license and they took my social security card, that was it. I wasn't allowed to work security in the country anymore, right? I've been out of work for a year now, right? I've been out of work for a year. So then, and let me finish reading the last portion. It says, such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies. So these colonies are suffering, right? It says, and such is now the necessity. Now it is the necessity which constrains them to alter their former system of government. Now the constraint is that we got to change the system of government, right? The history of the present king of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations. Okay, so this is an ongoing thing with Great Britain and its king, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. So the king of Great Britain is basically tyrannically ruling over these states, these 13 colonies, these 13 states. And he says, to prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world, right? Okay, we gotta go after this guy. We gotta settle the score here, right? One, he has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has refused his assent to law. He won't submit to the law, most wholesome and necessary for the public good. So the King of England is not cooperating with these people in the 13 colonies, right? He has refused. He won't. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained, and when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He's not doing his job. Okay, he has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people unless those people would relinquish the right of representation and the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. They're calling the man a tyrant. Okay, he's not doing his job in the government. He's not passing laws to protect the people. So they've got issues with this guy, right? This king of Great Britain. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. I'm not even going to go there because I'll be here for hours. Okay, he has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. Okay, so this king of England is just whooping it. Okay, and they don't like it. Listen to this. He has refused for a long time after such dissolutions, and of course they're paraphrasing this, because if they don't paraphrase it, it's going to be too long, right? Listen to this. These are the insufferable. They've come together and they're just like, this is too much. And of course, the people are listening to this and the people are in agreement with this. He has refused for a long time after such dissolutions to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these of these states for that purpose, obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of land. It's not what just Donald Trump just did to 7 Middle Eastern nations. Didn't he just basically obstruct the naturalization of 7 like Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, and a bunch of other nations, right? It's, as I'm reading this, it almost feels as if Donald just went back to the king's position. You know what I'm saying? And now he's refusing to pass others to encourage their migration hitherto and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone. So he's like a dictator for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payments of their salaries. I'm a preacher, I don't get nothing. He said he has erected a multitude of new officers and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He's eating them out of house and home. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislature. Oh man, he has affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. So England is kicking the heck out of these 13 colonies, and this king is outraged. Okay, so he's judging these people. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these laws. I got to stop right here. I've lost something here. It was saying here, lastly, it says, he has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our constitution. So apparently they had a constitution, right? And that was written. And this here, he's declaring, it might have been a British constitution. It wasn't it is the constitution that they had written. But this is really fascinating. It says, and unacknowledged by our laws by giving assent to their acts of pretended legislation. I got to stop here because my time is almost up here. I only got a few more minutes. What's the point that I'm making here? If these people, these men, in 1776 felt compelled to complain against the King of England and separate themselves and to start a brand new government, why am I being given diseases? Why am I being raped? Why is my property being stolen? Why am I still feeling and living like these people? Everything was removed from me. Why am I sleeping in park benches? It seems to me that the relationship has not changed. You understand what I'm saying? The relationship has really not changed. And the relationship with Native Americans and Africans have not changed at all, right? It has not changed. So on Sunday, yesterday, I didn't go to church. I won't tell you why. The Native Americans stood against me and not allowed me to use the bathroom, and they insulted me. I came out, I went to the university to use the bathroom, PSU, and I couldn't do it either. So I asked this question to all Americans. Americans, can you define the relationship today between African blacks and European whites since the Emancipation and the 13th Amendment was written in the 1816 by the U.S. government? And I had to give them some biblical answers. My answer is A, definition, it's the story of Cain and Abel. B, Leviticus 19, 11, 13, 15 through 18, love your neighbor. Matthew 24:7, nation will rise against nation. Resolution, Colossians 2:14, he has nailed our sins to the cross, right? And here's the cross that he nailed it, and that's the certificate right there, right? What should we do? Pray, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and so on and so forth. That's the resolution, but look behind here. Here's the relationship that has been marked since the beginning. 4 relationships, right? Outlined in the 10 Commandments. Our relationship with God, our relationship with our parents, our relationship with our spouses, and our relationship with our neighbors. Those are the relationships that have been marred, and we have talked about it in the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, supposedly our Lord, and here with Abraham Lincoln's emancipation. I'm going to go ahead and stop here and pray real quickly, and then I'm going to start the video again, and we're going to preach. Father, thank you for this hour. I pray that you would help the American people understand why I've done this video, and that there is a lie here, and I have a feeling that Satan is behind it. Help me uncover the truth. In Jesus' name, amen.